Namaskar, greetings, and gratitude. I welcome you all to another inspirational Star Talks episode number 103. And today, on the hot seat with me is Saira Mujtaba. How are you, Saira?
Good. Good morning, Preeti. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thanks for inviting me for this episode of Star Talk. It's an honor.
Honored, pleasure. Thank you so much for coming. Saira is a filmmaker, a writer, a translator, an actor, an anchor, trainer, and a radio artist. This is so good, Saira. So you are a multifaceted person.
But I think, anything that has to do with the creative arts, that really ignites a spark in me. And as a kid, I watched the film The Lion King, and it stuck with me. That there is more to do than can ever be done. There is more to find than can ever be found. And there is more to see than can ever be seen. So I think one uh, hone all the skills that one probably. I think most of the people are very skilled and talented. They are born very talented. God has given that spark in every one of us. It's just that given a conducive environment and given a personality that you introspect and reflect on your strengths and weaknesses, that's how you get to probably find yourself.
Well said. Absolutely, absolutely correct. It is not, yes, we are all talented by God's grace. And if put into our conducive environments, we are there to bloom. Absolutely, absolutely. So, Saira, which is that spark that usually gives birth to a film idea for you?
All right. Preeti, I'm professionally trained in filmmaking and I've assisted others in making documentaries. I'm yet working on my first independent documentary, but it's not yet out. But nonetheless, it's not just this question, I would say, any film idea or a book idea or anything, an idea in any creative field. It can be sparked by anything that inspires the artist. For example, if you're just walking on the street and if you just see maybe somebody littering, for example, and then you go and have a talk, and maybe during that talk you get to know the person. That person, every one of us is carrying millions of stories, right? So I think any idea is inspired by the story. uh, तो आप चाहे किताब लिख रहे हो, आप चाहे फिल्म बना रहे हो, आप चाहे धुन बना रहे हो, if you're a musician, anything that has a kahaniyat in it, that has a story in it, that emotionally connects the other people, then that is the trigger, you can say. So yeah, that's
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
for other people it can be a very mundane thing, but the artist has a mind's eye, you can say, and artist sees the things in a different light. So any mundane thing can also be a great spark. For example, if you look at most of world cinema, so I'm really fond of Iranian cinema, and Majid Majidi is my favorite filmmaker. So if you watch the film Children of Heaven, it's all about a very poor family who cannot even afford, the children cannot afford new shoes. Just such a small and so-called, irrelevant so-called idea for us, but it's a big thing for people who come from that strata, who we see on red light traffic signals, walking barefoot, and we don't even give it a thought. But it was Majid Majidi who probably wove such a beautiful story and a film behind that idea about a pair of shoes, the importance of shoes in poor children's lives. So I think anything can trigger an artist.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, a question very soon that I'm asking, which I should have asked you lastly, but if your life was a book, what would its title be?
A very free spirited soul, Preeti. And again, I'm saying this, that all humans are born free. We are inherently seeking freedom. But once a child is born, and the social conditioning, the restrictions of the house, or what you can do, what you cannot do, that decides the limits of freedom in every, in everyone's life. So again, it's a very relative question and answer to that. But I'm a very free spirited soul, and thankfully, I believe living life on my own terms. And despite being overburdened by familiar responsibilities, having two beautiful kids who just, make me crazy all day, and then there are times when I pack my lunch instead of having it at home if I have my evening shift at the radio. I pack my lunch also and then I go and have my lunch in the radio. So it's that crazy. But nonetheless, amidst all this chaos is beauty. And that depends entirely on us, how you see that beauty and how you create the life that you want to. So, coming back to your question, since I said I'm a free spirited soul, and there's a very beautiful line. I'm really fond of Abda Parveen's music, Sufi music. So,
Okay.
एक एक शेर
सुनाइए। हाँ, हाँ, प्लीज़ सुनाइए।
तमन्ना है कि आजाद तमन्ना ही रहो. So that stuck with me. I always feel that this is for me. So Azad Tamanna, that can be the title of the book. That is my biography.
Lovely, 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 lovely.
Like Amrita Pritam a lot. Her poetry, and more than her poetry, I like her that she was one woman who lived life on her terms. तो इसलिए मतलब बहुत ज्यादा मैं इंस्पायर तो नहीं कह सकते हैं, लेकिन हाँ एक मतलब ऐसी औरत जिसको आप एडमायर करते हैं, बिकॉज स्पेशली इन आवर इंडियन सोसाइटी हर चीज की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, हर चीज की ऑनर, इज्जत, वो सब कुछ दारोमदार औरत पे थोप दिया जाता है. तो वो औरतें जो मेरे ख्याल से हु लिव लाइफ ऑन देयर ओन टर्म्स, इट्स लाइक सल्यूट टू देम. सो अमृता प्रीतम से भी किसी ने पूछा था अगर आपकी लिखेंगी तो अपनी बायोग्राफी तो उसका क्या होना चाहिए उन्होंने, तो उन्होंने ये कहा था, मेरी जिंदगी एक रसीदी टिकट है. एक रसीदी टिकट है, तो उनकी बायोग्राफी का नाम रसीदी टिकट था. लेकिन व्हेन यू आस्क दिस क्वेश्चन टू मी, आई वाज जस्ट थिंकिंग कि मेरी जिंदगी क्या है, तो आई थॉट इट इज एन आजाद तमन्ना, सो दैट वुड बी एन एप्ट फॉर अ टाइटल ऑफ अ बुक.
वंडरफुल, वंडरफुल। आपके मल्टीफेसेटेड पर्सनालिटी से पता लग रहा है ये तो, बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल। Now I'll ask you a question as a translator. What's the biggest challenge in translating? Words or emotions?
Actually something else, Preeti.
Okay.
To translate words, then you are not a good translator. Because some things are best said when left unsaid. And most of the beautiful things are actually spoken in the unsaid words. So the unspoken language. So when somebody is deep in love, the words lessen, right? Alfaz ghaib ho jate hain, emotions take over. But emotions are again, they are not tangible. They are intangible. You can feel it, just like the presence of God. It's an intangible entity, but you feel the love of God all around you every single moment of your life. So the best things are intangible, and उनको translate करना. Now you asked me this question particularly related to translation, but I'm giving the answer related to any creative field, and then I'll come back to translation per se. So I asked this question while I was making a film, and my guru Rajiv Lochan, who was the ex-director of the National Gallery of Modern Art, so I was in my final year of filmmaking, and he used to teach us in the first year. But he left such a huge impact on my thinking about visual communication. So while I was making the film, I encountered this problem, Preeti. कि जो tangible चीजें हैं आप उनको कैद कर सकते हो, whether in camera or through words on a paper. You can describe them. But there are so many beautiful intangible things. मसलन जब हम खाना खाते हैं, so when even the bite has disappeared in the mouth, there's no trace of any morsel of food in your mouth. There's still a lingering taste on the taste buds. How do you capture that? क्योंकि मजा तो उसी से आता है. And then, for example, if you are playing a guitar or any musical instrument, so even after you have plucked the chords, the plucking of the action of plucking the chord or the string, it's tangible, right? But even after you have plucked it, there is no action, there's no tangible movement per se, but the vibrations that remain in the air, those after notes, उनसे म्यूजिक बनती है और मजा उसी में आता है
बिल्कुल।
आप कैसे उसको कैद करें। तो मेरे अंदर ये बहुत एक रेस्टलेसनेस थी, सो आई सेड दैट आई हैव टू आस्क माय गुरु मिस्टर राजीव लोचन, सो आई वेंट टू हिम and he gave a beautiful answer, and it's not just that answer applies to every creative person in whatever creative field he or she is. He said सा रे गा मा पा धा नी सा, इन सात सुरों में सारा ब्रह्मांड का, सारे यूनिवर्स का संगीत समाया हुआ। ओनली इन दिस सारे गामा पधा नीसा, दैट्स इट। बट वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आर दीज। सो सा इज साकार, द रियलिटी। ऑलराइट, सा इज साकार, द रियलिटी, जो हम लोग को दिखती है। लेकिन उस रियलिटी को हम कैसे ट्रांसलेट करेंगे, वो पूरा प्रोसेस के थ्रू गुजरना चाहिए। देन कम्स रे। ऑलराइट, उस रियलिटी को ग्रास्प करने के लिए यू नीड टू बी अ ऋषि। ऑलराइट, तो एक ऋषि इज द पर्सन जिसके एक सर्टेन एक्यूमेंट होता है, सर्टेन इंटेलेक्ट होता है। ओनली दोज पीपल कैन ग्रास्प दैट रियलिटी, सो यू नीड टू बी अ ऋषि। After being a rishi, you have to be Ga, that is Ganesh, that signifies knowledge, So you need a particular knowledge also. आपको इल्म चाहिए। कोई भी चीज क्रिएट करने के लिए आपको आर्ट सीखने के लिए आपको आर्ट स्किल तो चाहिए ना। अगर आप घड़ा बनाना चाह रहे हैं, यू शुड नो द आर्ट ऑफ मेकिंग, हाउ टू गो अबाउट इट, हाउ टू वर्क ऑन द पॉटर्स व्हील। तो आप नॉलेज चाहिए, इल्म चाहिए, तो गणेश सिग्निफाइज नॉलेज। And then Ma, which is Mahesh, Mahesh stands for destruction. Anything that you create, you should have the ability to destroy it and then reconstruct in your own way. So if you, for example, do not have the ability to destroy what the reality is you are perceiving, कहते नहीं है कि जो समाज आपको दिखा रहा है हकीकत, आपको उसे खुद अपनी हकीकत बनाने से पहले उसको तोड़ना भी तो जरूरी है। अब राजा राम मोहन रॉय took this huge step of abolishing सती, लेकिन उस सती को पहले प्रथा को खत्म करने के लिए भी तो एक जंग लड़नी थी ना। So you need to have that knowledge to destroy and then recreate. All right. And then Sare Pa. Now Pa is Parvati. Parvati nourishes. After you have created, you should know how to nourish your art. You should know how to nourish your skill. तो रियाज बहुत जरूरी है। तभी आप जो है, जब तक कि आपने बीज बो दिया है, आप उस पौधे को सींचेंगे नहीं, तो आप कैसे एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं कि वो फलदार दरख्त बनेगा? हाउ कैन यू एक्सपेक्ट इट, राइट? So you need to nourish it like Parvati. Then comes Dha. Apart from all these, you need to have a certain stability in your nature, and that comes through Dhyan, through the meditation. So meditation doesn't happen only on Kailash Parvat, for example, seclusion. And बुद्धिज्म की खूबसूरत सी बात है कि हम और आप बात कर रहे हैं। Even if you put your conscious head into this conversation, that is also meditative. But you need to have dhyan in it. And with dhyan, that means it actually, the connotation is that anything that you do, उसमें आप अपनी soul से connect करें। Automatically, when you connect to your soul, then automatically any mundane thing, any work, any labor becomes meditative, तो वो ध्यान हो जाता है। ध and then me, pa dha me. After doing all this, you would probably realize कि वो जो रियलिटी थी वो तो निराकार है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल जो क्रिएशन की बात करें, वो निराकार है। इट इज, एंड देन यू वुड थिंक कि मैं किस चीज को फॉर्म दे रहा हूँ। वो तो जो अल्टीमेट थिंग तो निराकार है। लेकिन वो हम सारी चीजों के थ्रू जाएंगे, सारे धर्मी, और फिर जब आप स पे वापस आएंगे, then the reality that you will perceive and create will be a piece of art. Then, if I talk about this was it, I think very, since it's a visual thing, आप समझ सकती हैं फिल्म मेकिंग में आप कैसे इसको करें। When I'm doing translation, so it's not just words or emotions. You have to translate an entire culture around it, and there are, that's why many translators, they don't translate each word, क्योंकि उनका translation अगर आप करेंगे तो you won't be able to leave an impact on the reader. For example, I do translations from Urdu literature to, like, Urdu language to English. So all the words in Urdu, I translate them into English. तो बहुत से उर्दू में ऐसे अल्फाज हैं जो कि इंग्लिश में नहीं है. I can give you an example. For example, there is just one word of love in English, लेकिन उर्दू में उसकी उस मोहब्बत की कई स्टेजेस हैं. तो जो फॉर एग्जाम्पल जो इश्क स्टेज है वो सबसे लोएस्ट स्टेज है. इश्क हैज अ सेक्सुअल कॉनोटेशन टू इट व्हेन यू आर फिजिकली अट्रैक्टेड टू योर लवर, राइट. फिर उसके बाद मोहब्बत होती है. देन यू स्टार्ट लविंग द पर्सन. इश्क से ऊपर होता है व्हेन यू गो बियॉन्ड द फिजिकल एंड देन यू स्टार्ट लविंग द पर्सन, तो मोहब्बत होती है. और मोहब्बत से ऊपर होती है मवद्दत, which is not dependent on time and space, and it keeps on increasing with time and space. Mohabbat remains constant. Mawaddat is something which is a passion so great that it keeps on increasing lamha dar lamha, वक्त के साथ और कम नहीं और बढ़ता जाता है. तो तीन लफ्ज हैं उर्दू में, एंड इन इंग्लिश आई जस्ट हैव वन लव.
Beautiful.
The character is, is it उसको इश्क हुआ है कि उसको मोहब्बत हुई, so मोहब्बत. So yes, some things are indeed lost in translation, but a lot of things are also gained in translation. It's I think the job of a good translator is not to just translate words and emotions, but also translate the whole culture around it. Yeah.
So beautiful. This is so nice. Thank you. Thank you. Um, Tell us something about your debut work of translation.
All right. So I was translating my Amma's, my nanny, grandmother's stories from Urdu to English. Uh, she left the physical world in 2019, but I always believe that artists, they live through their work. So I never say was, I never use the word was for her. So she is a very accomplished author, and I was translating her works in English. उसके बीच में मुझे एक फेलोशिप मिली थी, एंड the cause, LGBTQ cause is very close to my. So that was a Salzburg Forum fellowship. I went there to Kathmandu. और वहाँ पे उस साल उनका काठमांडू में हो रहा था एनुअल. तो वहाँ पे I met this amazing editor of a magazine uh, called Fatima Bhaiji. She's based in Pakistan, but imagine in a country like that, we just have prejudices, of course, but in a country like that, she's running an LGBTQ magazine, uh, जिसमें वो खाली literature related to non-normative sexualities के बारे में ही उनको जगह देती हैं. So then she told me about this writer, Samina Nazir. She said that you should translate her work. It's just too good. I said, okay, let me just read her works. And through Fatima Bhaiji, I got to know Samina Nazir. और हम लोग का exchange हुआ. उन्होंने कुछ अपनी एक दो stories भेजी. So the first story that she shared with me was Kallo. It was named after a protagonist, and blew me, Preeti. That completely blew me off because it was a story that really, the protagonist is coming from a very, you can say, lowly background. She's doing menial jobs. जिनको आप, क्योंकि हिंदुस्तान पाकिस्तान का अगर आप देखें कल्चर बिल्कुल मतलब अलग नहीं है. इट्स द सेम सॉइल, द सेम कल्चर. वो तो एज अमिताभ घोष सेठ के शैडो लाइंस बना देते हैं हम लोग मैप्स पे, जिनको हम लोग बॉर्डर्स बोलते हैं, लेकिन लोगों की बोली आप ले लिए मलबा, वहां का पंजाब और हमारा पंजाब में कोई फर्क आपको नजर नहीं आएगा. तो यू कुड रिलेट टू द स्टोरीज कि ये तो भाई अगर आप किसी को ना बताएं तो वो सोचेगा तो हिंदुस्तान की कहानी है, और हिंदुस्तान में कल्लो बहुत सारी होंगी, बहुत सारी कहानियां अपने साथ लेके घूम रही हैं जिनको समाज बहुत नीची तरह से देखता है. लेकिन जब कोई उनको प्यार देता है, चाहे वो किसी भी सेम सेक्स हो या ऑपोजिट सेक्स हो, जहां से उसको प्यार पहली दफा मिला, it happened to be from the same sex in this story. It was a very so-called religious and pious woman. वो उन लोग में मोहब्बत हो गई. The story is about that, and I was completely enamored. So I actually halted the translation of Amma's work, and then I asked Amina कि आप मुझे अपने सारे अफसाने जो है share all the stories with me. I really want to translate them. Because Preeti, I don't know how much you know about Urdu literature in India, and especially not just in India, in Urdu literature. Ismat Chugtai, Manto, all these big names they come, and there is hardly any. You know, there are a few stories that insinuate to non-normative sexualities. लेकिन ऐसा पूरा एक collection अब तक उर्दू literature में नहीं आया था that caters to characters from non-normative sexuality background. So I lapped it up, you know. I said I need to translate. और उनकी ज़बान बहुत अच्छी थी, you know, the whole environment that she creates, because it's not just the so-called the love theme is not only the main attraction of a story. जो पूरा वो एक environment create करती है. There is a story of called V Amma that revolves around a partition of Surat, you know. उसमें बंगाली कल्चर का इतना खूबसूरत वो है. Well, that is my first debut work of translation of Samina Nazir's short stories. That's called Kallo. And Hashkat India is publishing it. It's in the last process of editing. We have just decided the cover design. So hopefully it will be out by December or early next year. Yeah.
Congratulations to you. Nice. So nice. So, why did you choose translation, even though you love writing?
Yeah. So yes, Preeti, very, very thought-provoking question. And even I have asked myself that before plunging into the world of translation. I used to write, and it still is my first love. But I thought there are way better writers than I am in other languages, and they probably just go into oblivion because they are not translated in English language. And like for example, my own Amma, I am saying that she has a vast repertoire of work, very well known in Urdu literature circles. She has written, her name is Begum Masroor Jahan, and she's written 65 novels, over 500 short stories, very, very popular in Urdu literature, and widely translated also in Russian, in Tajik, in regional languages of India, Kannada, Bangla. But again, only one short story here and there, not a complete translated book. So that really inspired me to do translation of stories and of writers who have the risk of going into oblivion, and their whole rich repertoire of work will not be will not come to the fore of so many people. So that really enthused me. और कहीं ना कहीं ये भी कह सकती हैं आप कि भाई I still consider myself as a novice in writing. I am aware that there are so many better people. जब तक कि मैं खुद अपनी राइटिंग से बहुत ज्यादा कुछ नहीं, आई डू राइट आर्टिकल्स, नॉन फिक्शन तो बहुत लिखा है, आर्टिकल्स हैव बीन पब्लिश्ड अ लॉट, बट दोस आर जर्नलिस्टिक आर्टिकल्स. When we talk about fiction, the literary uh, the literary paimana, you can say, that I have created for myself, that I think I've still not gone there, but that's why I switched to translation for now. But in the you never know, because वो एक कहते नहीं, जिस तरह पानी बहता हुआ अपना जगह बना ही लेता है, कहीं ना कहीं आप उसे रोक नहीं सकते हैं, whether it's a crevice or anywhere. So maybe that spark of a writer within me will probably come out at some point.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, can you share some song, story, or a message that remains very special in your radio journey? You are a radio artist as well.
Yeah, so basically, I have. It's been more than a decade that I've been associated with the All India Radio, and I absolutely love my job. The moment I go on air, it really gives me a high. एक तो सबसे पहले I started with the television for a while, anchoring for television. बट एक तो वो इतना ज्यादा केकी मेकअप लगा देते हैं आपके फेस पे, you already feel unnatural. And I told you I'm a free spirited person. So there are times when, during the radio show, I'm doing like this, okay, listeners, but आप टीवी में ये नहीं कर सकते हैं. Or you're scratching your head, for example, but radio gives you that freedom that nobody is looking. You can just be yourself. So I love radio that way. And there are so many beautiful memories associated with my radio journey, Preeti. I'll just share two. Uh, I was supposed to do read the midday news, and that was the day when in the morning, लता मंगेशकर जी had passed away. तो उनकी फिजिकल डेथ की खबर पहली दफा यू कैन से इट वेंट फ्रॉम माय एंड एंड मेरे ख्याल से वो एक मेमोरेबल चीज आती रह जाती कि इतने बड़े शख्सियत की अगर आप कोई भी खबर दे रहे हैं एंड इट्स कमिंग फर्स्ट फ्रॉम यू टू द एंटायर कंट्री. So that was a very, very, you can say, memorable moment for me that, the first news that the पूरे India ने सुनी, Lata Mangeshkar has passed away. It was in my voice by God's grace, I would say. And Lata the lives on through her music and everything. So, you go a lot of through a lot of emotions. अगर आपके अपने फेवरेट कोई आर्टिस्ट हैं और आप उनके रिलेटेड कोई भी अहम खबर आप बता रहे हैं, जाना तो सभी को एक दिन, बट व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट डेथ, आई डोंट mourn death of artists because that is the point where you have to celebrate their life, the rich life they have lived. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that was one moment. And another moment is a very funny moment I would recall. There's a news magazine that we do at AIR. It's called Parikrama, which is a very nice show. It's a news magazine, so we have a little bit of news stories. But towards the end, there's a segment in. There used to be a segment of India Global. So we used to go to different embassies and get the material of all their cultures. So, for example, किसी दिन episode में we are covering Switzerland or we are covering Hungary. So we used to go to the embassies, get to the उनकी culture का सारा literature and make a good 8 minute, 10 minute का chunk for radio. That day, and it's a bilingual show, right? There's a Hindi anchor also and the English anchor. So there are two of us handling the half an hour show. That day, when it was about time to play India Global, so our editor came running with a slip because it's live. He can't speak anything. He just passed on a slip that there's a technical glitch. India Global will not play. And imagine 10 minutes on air time is a lot of time. So if
Yeah.
you have a script, 10 minutes, अगर अच्छे अच्छे एक्टर होते तो उनके तो आप कहते नहीं भूख से रख जाती है अजी सेना लखनऊ जवान ये कैसे क्या करेंगे वी डोंट हैव अ स्क्रिप्ट फॉर 10 minutes. But that day, my co-anchor was Athar Saeed, a very, very nice and senior anchor of Hindi. And I was there. Both of us have the gift of gab, you can say. And then it happened, I think God saved us because it happened to be World Sparrow Day that day.
Okay.
Yeah. अब वर्ल्ड स्पैरो डे था. अब हम लोग ने गौरैया की बात शुरू करी प्रीति. स्पैरो की जंगल इन इंडियन वी हैव लिव्ड इन. गौरैया कहाँ गई. और यादें हैं हम लोग की जब हम लोग के घरों में आंगन होते थे झूले होते थे तो दो unofficial family members so for 10 minutes without any script. we were we were sitting inside this cubicle जहाँ पे और बाहर जहाँ पे प्रोडक्शन पर्सन रहते हैं असिस्टेंट वहाँ don't believe Preeti, all our editors, not just the editor of our show, everyone was just looking at with bated breath कि यार आज तो break down होगा. 10 minutes they will go blank at some point. But sparrows at length but we poured our hearts out. So that was one funny and memorable moment in my radio journey that I'll always remember with with a smile.
Wonderful. So that's creativity. Wonderful, wonderful. Last question. So tell us something about who influenced your life.
My my grandmother, Masroor Jahan Sahiba, and not just because she's a great writer, but because कह सकती हैं आपके वो मेरी माँ, मेरे बाप, मेरी दोस्त, मेरी हमदम, मेरा आसमान, मेरी दुनिया वही थी. I was really close to her because my mother and both my parents were working, so मेरा सारा वक्त उनके साथ ही बीतता था. And she was also this very strong woman कि जिन्होंने खाना पकाने के बीच बीच में अगर सब्जी को फॉर एग्जाम्पल तेल छोड़ने में अभी 5 मिनट है तो उस 5 मिनट में शी यूज्ड टू कम टू हर स्टडी एंड फॉर 5 minutes शी यूज्ड टू ओपन हर बुक एंड रीड. So even for those 5 minutes I've never seen her waste even a single second of her life. So she was either reading or she was doing her घरेलू काम, you know, and इन सारे घरेलू कामों में रहने के बावजूद she was not a working woman. She had to give up her studies after class 10th because she was married. तो उन्होंने तो क्लास 10 तक ही पढ़ा, लेकिन उन्होंने इतना वर्क प्रोड्यूस किया कि लोगों ने उन पे पीएचडी की, लोगों ने उन पे डी की. So I
Wow.
think it was a remarkable life that I believe. And despite losing two children of her own, I just mentioned about my mama, the only son that she had, she continued her writing. She said कि you know, कलम ने मेरा साथ दिया है. It is the classes for me. And all the stories that I have written, उनके characters कोई भी so-called fiction नहीं है. They are the characters that I have met. I have personally known them, if not on a very intimate basis, but those are living characters that have inspired me. तो वो सारी कहानियों में किरदार जो हैं वो लोग हैं मेरे आसपास के. So I think she has left a very very deep impact on my life. और उन्होंने मुझे ये सिखाया, because I feel that in today's world, Preeti, there are such screwed concepts and understandings of, for example, even feminism. You know, she was a feminist, but she was not a male basher. You know, how can you be a male basher? Patriarchy से आप लड़िए, लेकिन इसका मतलब नहीं कि हर मर्द patriarch है. I have actually faced more patriarchy at the hands of women in the society, you know, yeah, even in workplaces, than men, for example. And of course, men, not all men are that good or bad. What I'm saying is that, you know, you don't need to be a male also to be a feminist. So he was the one who who kind of unscrewed and made that unlearning part in my personality. कि जो society तुम्हें सिखा रही है तुम वो मत सीखो. You know, use your own vivek and chetna, as we say, you know, your own acumen. Don't just follow the herd. So there are screwed concepts of feminism today that we see. There are screwed concepts of even modernity. आपने स्कर्ट पहन ली तो कहाँ से आप मॉडर्न हो गए? Modernity is over here. Your mind
Absolutely.
should be liberated. Your mind should be open. Uh, it should be free of prejudices. You should not judge. So these are qualities, and I feel in today's times, Preeti, that the society is actually regressing. Our infrastructure is progressing, technology is progressing, but our thoughts are regressive. And back in the 80s, I remember, you know, जब हमारे घर में I remember, you know, आप बिना फोन करे अपने पड़ोसी के घर होली पे मिलने जाते थे, बिना फोन करे दिवाली पे मिलने जाते थे, आप हक से कहते थे मेरे लिए 5 गुजिया बचा के रखना. मीडिया पे सोशल मीडिया पे अगर everybody has the right to say anything, you know,
Mm.
it's a new thing. So this is not human. You know, this is a very artificial thing that we have imbibed because of the poison of social media. Also, it's very good. Of course, you and I are interacting through social media. Like anything, it has its pros and cons.
बिल्कुल. इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ही नहीं है और भी हम प्रोग्रेस करें फॉर श्योर. एंड thank you so much, Saira. So nice knowing so much about you and your views. Wonderful. I'm so happy that you came to Startups today. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I hope I didn't talk a lot because see, I'm a radio person.
No,
So all the
it's good.
listeners.
This is for you to talk only. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my dear audience, for being with us in this lovely conversation today. I will come back with another personality who has inspired my life. Have a good day. Thank you. All the best. Bye, Saira. Thank you.